Okay. Hi, everybody. So today we're doing our Sacred Money Dates workshop, and this is really a working session to help you set up some basics of having sacred money dates, having a foundation for doing like a container for creating space for you to do work around money and bring more consciousness and awareness to it. And unlike some of the other classes where there's just sort of teaching and sharing, we're actually going to get into the worksheets. We're going to go through them bit by bit and make sure that you have a real solid setup for having sacred money dates and having this foundation so that you can feel really solid at the, by the time we're done here and by the time we're done with our class, so that you really have a sense of what does it take to have financial clarity, not just for the end of this month, but ongoing throughout your financial experience, because really, you're in relationship with money from now till the end of your days, or until for some reason we decide we're not using money anymore. Good luck. So really we're going to take a look at this through the lens of long-term relationship, and through relationship in general, and what does it mean, how do we create some love and foundation for our money, honey. All right, so we're going to do that. We did just go over all of our agreements. I'm not going to go through the big agreements because I want to just give us some spaciousness to work through this. But if you have something that comes up, or some, piece of container or something that needs help, let me know. I'm happy to work with you with whatever, this stuff that comes up. And so today, let me give you a sense of what we're doing today. We're going to spend 2 hours. So it's 2:00 now. We're going to go till 4:00 Pacific time. And we're really going to work through these different pieces. So, normally I say grab a screen or a pen and paper. What I want you to do is to gather, you're going to need your calendar. You are going to need a pen and paper, or a notebook if you have your money notebooks. So for those who did a financial alchemy and you have your alchemy book, grab it because you're going to need to take some notes. If you have a printer nearby and you want to print out those worksheets, that's real useful. And then make sure you grab some water. And because this is 2 hours, one or more of us might need to, pop off and go to the bathroom and things like that. It's totally fine to do that. This is all recorded. We're going to put it in the portal. You'll be able to access it. So if there are bits that you're like, need to do again, or, in 6 months, you want to look at it again, you'll have access to be able to do that. And we're going to use a similar format to the format we normally use, which is I'm going to walk you through some pieces. You're going to do some exercises. We are going to do some sharing about it, but primarily what we're focusing on is getting you set up to be able to have regular money dates, and kind of understand what has to go into actually doing like work day to day with money, which I think for a lot of people seems real mysterious. And so I am here to rob you of that mystery. I mean, to make it less mysterious. I think of mystery as being one of the things that we sort of need in order to to up our level of faith. And in this case, I want this process to be less mysterious in an obfuscated way, but still have a level of like wonder and joy. So that's what I mean. Let me think for a minute. I think that's most of the container pieces. We will actually, because this is a class, a working session where we're going to be creating your container, we will actually be working through these different pieces and putting more container and in as we go along through the day. So as this is a working session, let's do our body check-in, and then we'll do some things. We'll get to some things, but I do want to make sure that we do a body check-in because this is one of the core pieces of our work. So, and we can do a body check-in, and I'm going to give you a little bit more than a body check-in this time. We're going to do a little bit of grounding. And the reason that we're going to go through the body check-in into grounding is that for me, in my practice, a body check-in is really the first step. It's the first piece of moving from, okay, this is where I am, into being grounded and the groundedness helps me take steps, be able to do whatever comes next. And in terms of magical containers, we always ground ourselves before we do big magic so that we have a place that we're starting from. And I think of the work that we do with money as very magical. And so as a result, I use my magical tools around money so that I have that same sense of container and holding. It's like that. So take a breath and close your eyes. And take some deep breaths. And you might remember approximately 2 hours ago when we were noticing our thoughts. So a body check-in really starts with stopping whatever else you're doing. So if you're, and this is also true of grounding, you have to stop all of the moving around. I mean, you can sway or move your body or stamp your feet to ground. But I mean, stop reading the book or looking at the internet or doing whatever the distracting thing is, right? And take some deep breaths. So I tend to close my eyes, especially if I'm sitting down, because it helps me really feel the inside of my body. So take a breath and close your eyes, which I said, but I notice that people have their eyes open. And having your eyes open is fine. I just want to make sure that you get, try it different. Try closing your eyes, try opening your eyes. How is it that you best get in touch with your you? Because this is just a noticing step. And we're not trying to, in this step, we're not trying to change anything, right? A lot of the times when we're noticing something, we're then like, how could I need this thing? And so there's no self-criticism or no judgment. You just, if there's some of that comes up, you just say thanks, but no thanks right now. And just take some more deep breaths. You're welcome to write in a journal, but nothing is necessary, right? At the noticing step, really just notice. Notice how your body feels. Notice what it takes to connect and reconnect to ourselves. And keep breathing. Remember, we're pushing the pause button, right? Which is really important when we get activated or overwhelmed. Just to connect with ourselves. Our primary relationship, right, is with ourselves. It's the one person we have no choice. We have to live with forever. So this is to help to create some rightness in that relationship, some alignment. And just notice your physical sensations. Notice how your body is doing, what your body is doing. Notice the sensation of maybe your butt in a chair, your feet on the floor. I notice I have my elbows on my desk. I notice after a body check-in, sometimes I talk a little slower. Not that slow, but a little slower. Oh. All right. So now let's take this down into a grounding. So for those of you who've done this work before, you literally, you want to imagine that your feet open up to be the roots of a tree. And let those roots extend into the soil. And for me, it helps to think of them like breaking up the cement and just kind of reaching down into the soil. And you can imagine those layers that it has to reach through, right? There's this kind of cement and concrete, if you're in a building, or wood or something, that it's reaching down into, and then there's the soil. And in the soil, there's rocks, or there'll be a rock layer, right? And then there'll be the water table, and then there's more different kinds of rocks and soil, and there'll be, maybe there's some, creatures, maybe live creatures, maybe dead creatures, maybe transforming creatures. And just, and the trees they just kind of slip in there, right? They push into those places, and it's gentle and slow. So keep breathing. And for me, on the out breath, I just allow my roots to sink deeper. So on the in breath, I'm resting. On the out breath, I push a little bit into the soil. And you go down and down and down, very far down. Once you get pretty far down, what I notice is the earth starts to heat up a little bit. And that's often the place that I stop and play with my roots. Because there's a sort of energy that feeds back up. And let that energy feed you and draw up through those roots, like the tree is looking for water and it's looking for warmth, especially this time of year. And just notice and allow the warmth to travel up your roots. And we're starting big work, so we can let it take a long time, just let it take time. Let that feeling of warmth and connectedness to the earth rise up. And just notice and breathe. And I notice when it hits my feet. And maybe it's hitting your feet already, and maybe it'll take a little longer, and that's all fine. And let it come up. Let it come up in your feet. A little more up in your feet and your ankles and your calves. And it'll just climb at whatever pace it climbs at. Maybe it climbs at the pace of my words, and maybe it climbs at some other pace, and it's all fine. I'm just going slow so that we can walk through it a little bit at a time. But for some people, it moves fast. That's fine. So up your legs and your knees and your thighs and into your sex and the bowl of your pelvis. I find that this is often a place that I need that warmth and connection of the earth most, and it sort of fills me up. I let it fill me up and up and up. Fill me up and up and up. Fill up my belly, up into my solar plexus and my chest. Let it fill up my heart. And flow over my shoulders and down into my arms and my hands. And sometimes this makes my hands very, feel alive and kind of electric. And then I let it climb up my neck and my head. And then it shoots off the top of my head. Mine gets very excited. And up into the stars. In amongst the stars, which makes me stretch my arms up. And then we let it fall, let that energy fall back down into the earth, keeping what is good for you, what is yours, letting go of any extra. Maybe sometimes you shake a little bit of it off. But just notice that connection to the earth always stays. right? The connection always stays. Sometimes we forget it, sometimes we disconnect, but really, the earth is the thing that we are on all the time. It wants us here, right? And we just notice that the earth will push up and will push down, and we have this really well, I think most of us try for a symbiotic or loving relationship with the earth, but it is a thing that we are creatures of and we are connected to, whether we choose that or not. So you can take a breath, another breath. And now that we've grounded ourselves, I want you to notice where you are now. And we'll share a frame from this place. I notice, for myself, my neck is sore. I got into a car accident. I was rear-ended last week, so I am feeling sore kind of all over on bits and pieces, but I noticed my neck and my shoulders and my neck. And I noticed my feet in my little slipper shoes to keep me warm. Just notice the texture, the sort of fuzzy texture that keeps my feet warm. And I notice the yawning. What are you noticing? Take a breath and open your eyes. And I would love a share from each of you. Who would like to start? Josh? Awesome. I love that you volunteer for this. It's so great.
I guess I'm sharing the first in both calls. I noticed, so earlier I thought that there was some stress or something in my solar plexus. Now I realize, no, it's my breakfast is irritating my digestive system.
Awesome.
So just like, it's like, oh, that's what's going on. Okay.
There's what is it called? Just a finer level of distinction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also need to use the restroom, so I'm going to do that after I share.
Yeah, good job. Excellent noticing. Thank you, Josh.
Yeah, so that's really it.
Yep, thank you very much. Thank you. Who would like to share next? Yay, Carrie.
I am feeling super bone tired. I have felt very tired since I tore my meniscus, and I feel like my whole body is trying to heal and just sending all the energy there, and I'm just tired. So I made myself a whole lot of tea to keep awake for eating this.
Nice. Yeah, that is a definite sign from your body, right? Yeah. So I'm hoping that you can be gentle on yourself and see if maybe you can get some rest. Oh, I hear that. I've been really tired since the car accident too. I'm just like so tired. Is there any place that you feel that tiredness more than others?
So it feels like a lot, like a coldness up and down my spine. So I've been working with trying to send need fire to it.
Nice. Nice. That's very descriptive. Thank you. Thank you. And Seneca. That's Seneca again, right?
Oh,
hi. I've unmuted you.
Thank you. Yeah, I tried to join the video and it didn't work, so I apologize. Let's see. Noticing. The main thing I'm noticing right now is I'm actually outside and there's a really really slight breeze, and so I'm noticing the coolness on the skin of my face and on my fingers. It's quite enlivening.
Thank you.
And Brianna, just while I'm speaking, it seems like you've got the muting under control, so I don't need to mute on my phone, right? You're kind of helping us with that. Is that correct? Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. We sort of have a tradition of I will mute you and unmute you, or for folks that are on video, it's really easy to click and mute and unmute. But I will happily unmute you, no problem.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, Seneca. Okay. Now we're all checked in. Okay, so I want to work through. So here's what we're doing. So you know this, I run a bookkeeping firm, and what we do is we do people's books. And I want to just give you kind of a heads up when we're talking about financial clarity. For me, financial clarity is all about knowing exactly where I am with my money, so that I can make really powerful decisions. Because I feel, for me, if I don't know where I am, I don't know how much money I have or how much is coming in or how much is going out, I feel really lost, right? I feel really lost. So for me, and the reason I created this class is to create a space so that we can all be creating clarity about what's happening, what's going in, what's coming out, what are our intentions around this, what do we want to do about it. So, as a job, what we do as bookkeepers, one of the things that we do is we, set our intention for what we're working on, right? We gather all our tools together, we get all our data and our statements and all of this stuff, and then we systematically work through the different pieces. Hi, Christina. I'm so glad you're here. I can't hear you, just so you know. Is that you? Say something.
Hi.
There's Christina. So just so you know, we just did a grounding check-in, and we're talking a little bit about what financial clarity is. And then we're going to be working through some worksheets, and I will make sure that you get them, so that you have them. Let me forward them to you right now. Let me forward this to you.
On the call from earlier today, you said.
Could you forward them to me too?
I sent them to your Generous Muse. What's the best email address? Let me make sure that I get
Generous Muse. Okay, if they're there, I'll look for them just now.
Yeah. Because I know that they're in other places, but I wanted to make sure that if you're showing up that you have them here. So here. Yeah,
here they are. Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Great. Okay, and Christina, those are on their way. They should be to you now. Okay, great. So Christina, I just want to encourage you. We did some grounding. So if you just take a few deep breaths and sort of get real present, that's you doing the pre-work. So, and I'm just muting folks because I'm going to talk for a little bit, and then we're going to go through some of these worksheets. This is a working session. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I think about financial clarity, and then we're going to work through some pieces of laying foundation so that you can have financial clarity starting now, basically. So I want to know, so there's some things that I want to know. And one of the questions you'll want to ask yourself is, what do you want to know in order to be really clear? Again, if you have your notebook, this is a good question to ask yourself and to keep asking yourself, because I have found over time that sometimes there are more things, sometimes there are less things that I want. So for me, just as an example, and you might write these down because I don't think they're in any of these things, but one of them is I want to know how much is coming in and when it's coming in, right? So what and when and how much, and what do I know is going out and when is it going out? I also want to know how much debt I have, right? So what my debt payments actually are. What else do I want to know? Those are big things. And then I also integrate that with my calendar. So often after I do work around financial clarity of okay, so what's going in and what's coming out and what are the things I know about, which is why I did that 5-day challenge, is to look at, are there regular things that you can, do you have all that information? And then is there anything you want to turn off, which was, looking at the 5-day challenge, because you want to know how much space you have. And if you don't have space, we can talk in the future about how to create more space and create more money. In fact, the class that comes after this talks more about profitability. But right now we're just looking at what does it take to really get clear. And for each of you, you're going to come up with your own criteria, and you'll create those criteria by doing, by working through the work that we've created here. And then you'll have a better sense of what does it take to be clear. But those are the things that I really think of as, money in, money out, debt, and then my calendar. Cause it's like, there'll be things that are coming up that I'll want to spend money on, some of it simple things like maybe going out to a meal, but, also bigger things like planning vacations or buying things is really, it's really quite dependent on cash flow, right? Of how much is coming in and how much is going out, or how much is in, savings or investments or credit or those kinds of things. So I'm going to say a little bit about that. In my day-to-day, I don't necessarily look at, what's in, this investment or that investment or whatever. I usually just have an amount that I'm putting away, and then I check those less often. One of the sort of mind tricks to play on myself about money is if I'm not looking at it, I don't think about spending it. So if you're new at saving, because I know that some people come here because they specifically want to be saving more money, you want to look at how can you be putting even tiny amounts, even $5 or $20 at a time, and just put it away in a place where you're not going to be looking at it day to day. So this is all to say, ask yourself the question, what are your criteria for financial clarity? And I'm going to give you a couple minutes right now to just write down what your criteria are. And I'm going to set a timer. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to start out with. And this is, if you need more time, we can take more time. Like I said, this is a working session. And we don't have to rush. I just don't want you sitting there for, 10 minutes waiting for me. So I'm going to start with 3 minutes. And then ready, go. And I'll be here. I'm going to be quiet, but I'll be here. So if you have questions about that, let me know. Okay. It looks like you need more time. Is that right? No? Are you? What did you say, Christina?
No, I'm good.
You're good. Okay. Okay, great. So, does anyone want to share a couple of their criteria? Oh. Oh, I think we keep pressing the button. I'll let you do it, Christina. You can press the...
Can you hear me?
I can!
Okay. Well, I think like what you said before about knowing what's going in and out and when and how much, how much debt I have and the payment. And then also knowing how to plan for like unforeseen, I feel like it's always the unforeseen circumstances that cause, the unknowing, but also knowing how to plan, I'm self-employed, so it's kind of knowing how to plan for slow periods too, because they happen every year, and I feel like they always catch me by surprise.
This is Neville. Neville's come to say hello to you. So planning for things. Okay, I gotta get down. So what I think of it is the planning. Unforeseen things sometimes cause wreckage. Like that sort of wrecks things. Yeah. And yeah, definitely. So one of the things is, putting a little bit of money away, like having a rainy day fund.
Yeah.
That sounds like could help with that. Do I want to say something about it at this point? I'll say something, which is, so one of the things when you get enough data, so unforeseen things happen with some regularity. They're not exactly predictable in, what day a thing is going to happen, but certainly over time you can predict like, oh, there's a few things that happen, and you can at least say, oh, look, I've had to have, this much work done on my car or things, and start to be able to put some money away. You can't predict everything, especially major things like car accidents and stuff like that. But there's a lot of ways that we can, once we have some data, start to predict, what your busy season is and when you're going to have money coming in, and when your busy season is, especially after being in business for years, you'll get a sense of it. And then the question is what to do about that. How can you put money away and plan maybe for your slower season, or how can you bring in new clients if during your slower season, like what does it take to kind of make these sorts of shifts. As an example, one of the reasons I started teaching classes is that we have a ton of business, like in my bookkeeping business, from November, December to mid-March, and right end of March, sometimes as late as April 15th, but we don't do the tax filings, so sometimes it's a little earlier. We have tons of business, more than we can manage, and then in June and July, we often have less. And fortunately, there's another tax season, fortunately, in sort of August and September. But one of the things that we had to look at was, so what do we do in June and July? And for me, June and July ended up being, like, I took all of July off, right? Which makes it so that, maybe I don't take as much time off earlier in the year, but then I can take a whole month off and hang out, which is really good. It's a really good question to kind of take a look at as we're going through our process. Thank you. Okay, so who else is willing to share a couple of their criteria? No, we're all good. Oh, Josh, you want to share?
I mean, I guess I didn't feel like I had anything new. That's why I didn't volunteer right away. Because it's more about just understanding the numbers, right? How much how much is in my bank versus, the remaining bills for the month, the debt level, savings level, retirement level, and knowing that I have a stable, predictable income. Um, either through, regardless if it's working for myself or at a job.
Yeah, that predictability is a thing that people want, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully by getting some clarity, it helps with figuring out when you will have predictability and when you won't, and being able to manage both of those. Okay. Oh, were you going to say something else, Josh?
Nope.
Okay, great. Thank you. So then the next thing I want to do is really look at framing the conversation. Hold on. Okay. So I mentioned a little bit of this up at the top of the hour, but what I want to really have you do is look at your money as though you were in relationship with your money, which is a true thing, right? You're going to be in relationship with money for the rest of your life, right? Because money is a thing that certainly has outlived us, and is, long before any of the economic systems that we talk about, whether it's capitalism or socialism or any of those things, are long outpaced by money. And so no matter how we think about things like capitalism, we have to figure out how to get right with our relationship with money. So one of the things I want you to consider is how would you be with your money if you were in a long-term relationship? And this is where our little worksheet, so this workbook that is called Sacred Money Dates, it's the setup one, and I'll show you what it looks like. Here, let me share my screen with you. This one. So this is one of my intentions for working with people with money, which is to fall in love with your money. So creating this space of sacred money dates. And I want you to have this kind of happiness in your relationship with money, and really to know that is possible and to aspire to it. And just really just consider, and when you think about, and we're going to work down on this exercise, but really read through this when you have a moment, and really look at when you look at your current relationships, whether you have romantic partnerships or family relationships. We all have relationships of some kind, right? And I want you to just think about what makes a relationship really work. I'm going to give you a little bit of context to this. If you're here, let me stop the share. If you're in a relationship where you keep telling the person you're in a relationship with that you want to see them all the time, but you only make time for them twice a year, right? These relationships don't tend to last that long, right? And remember earlier today when we were talking about creating trust with yourself? So this is one of those things, if you keep telling yourself, oh yeah, I'm going to get to it. Oh yeah, money, we're gonna thing, we're gonna go dancing, we're gonna hang out. And then you never get to it, right? Eventually your relationship with money erodes, is corroded by the lack of trust that you're creating with money. So I just want you to take a minute and really think about what makes your long-term relationships really work. Whether that's maybe you have a long-term romantic relationship or your familial relationships. Family is actually a great grounds for this, because family, because we have a lot of messiness with our family, right? We have long-term relationships with our family, and it's often quite messy. But any long-term relationship will really do. And I want you to take a couple minutes and just write out, so what really works for me in long-term relationships? Does that make sense? Does that question make sense? Okay, great. And I'm going to give you 3 minutes. So about another 20 seconds. Are you, unless you guys are done. Are you done? Yeah? Great. This is a good thing. This is a really good thing to share about. Let me try to stop this timer before it makes all the noises. All right. Would you like to share? Does someone want to share about this part? All right, Josh.
I want to. So I had an insight while I was writing stuff. But I'll first start with what I wrote, which was I would spend time with it, be sure I'm aware of what it needs, and do my best to handle those needs. I would enjoy our time together and look forward to it. I would care deeply for it.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was writing these things, I was like, money feels very demanding. It wants so much from me. Because it partially irritated me that there's no choice, right? Either I have to deal with this demanding relationship, or life sucks a lot. And I don't like that. I like being, I was in a really bad relationship with my ex-wife, and I'm really glad I chose to get out of that. And I'm with a wonderful sweetheart now, and I'm like, yes, that choice was great. I don't have that choice with money. If I feel like it's too demanding, that's it. Doesn't matter. Either I'm in debt or I'm screwed or something.
Mm.
So I don't like not having a choice.
So do you feel like you don't have any choices, or you have very limited choices?
Well, I'm limited choices because I have to cater to money's needs, or I am trapped. Well, no, I'm trapped. I have to cater to money's needs, or things don't go well.
Mm-hmm. Did you say that you're already trapped?
Yes.
Good noticing. Do you feel like that So you felt like that in your relationship with your former sweetheart?
Yeah, I definitely.
And what did you do to change that relationship?
I basically got a divorce. I'm like, I'm not. That was pretty much what I did.
Yeah, you're unwilling to have that relationship.
Yeah.
I wonder, I'm very curious about that for you. Like how you could create more choice for yourself.
Yeah. I mean, at the moment, I mean, obviously, I'm kind of in the heat of it. I don't feel like there's much choice because our world is so deeply ingrained with money, as you were pointing out earlier. But that could just be the frustration or the blindness of what I'm dealing with.
Yeah, so consider trying this on. I notice for myself when I think that I don't have any choices, I don't have any choice, there's something in there I'm not taking responsibility for.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like with my sweetheart, I get annoyed with him when I don't have enough time to myself. And that's certainly not his responsibility. Right? He doesn't know when I need time to myself. And this is not necessarily a direct correlation, but the places that I notice that I am the most right grumpy is because there's something that I haven't taken responsibility for. And I want to make a distinction here. There is a way that we, especially around magic, we can take 100% responsibility. It does not mean we have 100% control, right? I don't want to give you any illusions that you have 100% control of anything, because that is both inaccurate and misleading. But taking responsibility, and for me, has meant that then I get to choose how I'm going to react to a greater and greater degree, right? Again, I don't think we have control over everything. I don't think we have control over our emotions. I do think that there are a lot of tools that will help us. But one of those things is, what am I actually responsible for? And what have I not been taking responsibility for here?
Mm-hmm. That sounds very true.
Excellent. Glad to hear that.
Not comfortable, but very true.
Oh yeah, super uncomfortable. We haven't really talked about this much today, but the way that you get to changing your relationship with money is that your relationship with anything, right? Your relationship with your sweetheart, your family, is you have to be willing to be uncomfortable and sit in that uncomfortability. I recently did an exercise for myself where I was looking at all the places in my life that I am uncomfortable. And I wrote down, I literally wrote a list of, I did that, I did this, I did that. Because as soon as I claimed it, it doesn't have power over me anymore, right? There's a Brene Brown quote. I really like her work around this. She says, what is her quote? Something like, basically we're a victim of our story until we claim it. And once we claim our own stories, we get to write the ending of them. Right? Because until we claim them, we can't. She has a conversation about this, about racism, where she's like, the reason that America has a race problem is we've decided that we're not going to talk about it, right? And everything that you shove under the rug, right? It just grows. It's like mold. It just grows out of control, right? But the minute that you're like, oh yes, right? I struggle with racism. I struggle with money. I did this. I'm in debt. I made these decisions. Then you can rewrite that story. But if you're like, oh no, that's not my responsibility, or I can't do anything about it, then you're in the victim stance, which we talked about before in the financial. I think we talked about that in Financial Alchemy, right? We talked about the victim triangle.
I think so.
So this is about, how do you shift that mindset? And you'll see in the workbook as you read through it, your approach to money really matters, right? Because, you don't want to recreate that same attitude and upset and victim story with your relationship with money. So this is one of the reasons that we want to create these conscious containers around money, so that we can take it out of our kind of everyday lives where we're blaming or name calling or all of this stuff, and shift it into a place where we're like, okay, I am intending right relationship here. How can I claim as much responsibility as I can?
Okay. That makes sense. I have to sit with it, but yeah, that makes sense.
It's huge. Making a decision to take full responsibility of your money is a really big deal. So if it feels heavy and you're uncomfortable, it's because you're right on the spot. Good luck.
Thank you.
Does anyone else want to share? Not everybody has to share every time, but if you want that, we're happy to. Yeah.
Brianna, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I realized I have to unmute myself if I want to share.
That's right.
I really appreciated this exercise. I think there was a lot of insightful things in my list, and the one that I wanted to sort of speak about and share is that playfulness was the first thing that I wrote as far as something that sustains my long-term relationships. And I realized that I have, at this moment, almost zero playfulness in my relationship with money. And looking back, the times in which I have been more playful, which was mostly when I was actually making cash money, and I really made a game out of counting it and sorting it, and I really liked that the game of stacking cash. Those are the times that I did the best. I made the most money. So I'm excited in the course of this course to figure out some ways to be playful, and I'm guessing that this money date is a great a great potential start.
Yeah, it's a great container. So when we get into actually, there's a section of the money dates that's what tools and stuff do you need? So you might consider, what is it? How do you feel playful? You want to get out some, game pieces. You want to, actually have cash that you're counting. What is, how can you be playful, with your money?
Yeah.
Yeah. And does that extend to the people who give you money? Is there a way that you can be, that you want to, be playful with them about this, or, and what would have you feel more of that's in play? I'm excited for you to have playful.
Me too.
It's good. Thank you, Seneca. Anyone else? Yes, Christina.
The first thing that came to mind for me was that I appreciate it and celebrate it, because that's what I think is important in relationships too. And I noticed, actually, I think it was about a year and a half ago or so, I started every time I deposited checks for my business, I would kind of do a really happy dance, and I started making a lot more. I started getting a lot more checks to deposit.
Yeah.
So I do definitely try to appreciate it. But the funny thing that I think about that is sort of lacking in my relationship, but also lacking in my money relationship, is the ability to talk about it without feeling stressed or ashamed or embarrassed, or because there was such strong messaging growing up that you did not talk about money. It was the fear factor, and I want to feel more comfortable and also be around people that it's okay to talk about money with, because I want to work it out. It's I'm getting to that point in life where I'm talking about freaking interest rates on business loans and, big financial responsibilities as I grow my business and stuff like that. And I'm getting to the point where I'm going to be asking people for money. And so I want to be able to talk about it comfortably without having the anxiety of it being this big, scary, taboo subject.
Yeah. So this exercise that we're doing about creating sacred money dates, you can do with any relationship in your life. And the more that you do it, the more comfortable you'll get doing this kind of thing with other people. But this is a brilliant point. It is very important to be able to have conversations about money with people. The top like two things that people get divorced over are money and kids, right? And a lot of people don't have kids. So people argue, fight, get upset, like get divorced, like change families, change all kinds of things because they can't talk about money.
Yeah.
So can I give you a small piece of homework?
Yes.
Okay. So when you eat out with people, this is an excellent like mini conversation about money. So you want to just start the conversation about money. So let me give you some ideas about how this goes. Like you sit down at the table and you're like, okay, so you can even just say up front, so how are we doing the bill? Right? Are we gonna split it up? Is somebody gonna pay for it? One of the reasons I started doing that is because I don't drink alcohol, but I'll frequently go out with people who do. And especially when I was struggling with money, people have a couple of drinks, which is like, can be $30 or $40 for a couple of drinks. And I was like, I started a boundary where like, I don't want to pay for other people's alcohol, And so I had to learn to say up front, okay, so how are we doing this? And just, I'm not going to, I'm happy. You can drink whatever you want. I don't care about that, but I don't want to contribute to that.
Yeah.
But whatever and it doesn't have to be, that's how I learned to do it because I was like, I have a boundary. But just how are we going to do this? Are we going to split it? Are we going to split it? Everybody contributes. Are we going to split it so that everybody just pays for their own exactly as it is,
Yeah.
Or little things like how much are you leaving as a tip? Right? Because though that varies widely.
Yeah.
So it's a great intro. What?
Okay.
Yeah. It's a great intro, sort of low stakes conversation.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's likely that no matter what you say about it, everybody's still going to eat a meal together, right? So it's but it's a great place to start. Let us know how it goes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And Carrie, do you want to say something too?
So actually listening to all of these have been really helpful. So attached to my work this weekend, I kind of had this insight while we were working. It is true. I have a wicked vow around, I'm working for myself because no one else would hire me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I couldn't hold down a real job. And so I think that I really need to reframe my thoughts around that and think of all the ways in which having my own business is empowering myself versus not being empowered.
Mm-hmm.
I had this super abusive boss who I worked in a startup mode with her for like, I don't know, it felt like freaking forever, but it wasn't. And then when we got our funding, she announced that she wasn't going to hire me. Instead, she was going to hire this other random person. And I had kind of figured out that, like, she was promising jobs to, like, she was promising everybody the same cushy job, right? Everybody was going to be the vice president. And if there's 5 people there and we're all being promised the same job, that's not, none of us are getting it, right?
Yeah.
And she was super abusive. And so when I finally sat down to have the conversation with her, I wrote out all the things that, like, I felt about it. And she was like, well, no one's ever going to hire you. And I had to yell at you to make you listen. And, like, she's like, well, maybe you should just start your own proposal writing job. And it was said to me in such this dismissive way that, like, maybe I feel like from the beginning I felt like a failure.
Okay.
And maybe that's the root of it.
Like it
So I
felt
know
like
that's not related to a money date. I get it's a little off topic.
No, it actually is. So
The work that I need to do right now.
yeah, so there is there are a number of people who talk about this. I think that I recently saw something. I think that there's a website called Unemployable or something.
Okay.
So one of the jokes I certainly make it with other of my long-term entrepreneurial friends. Like the joke is that we're completely unemployable, right? The truth is that most people who start businesses are very creative entrepreneurs and they don't fit within boxes, and that's the real truth of it, right? And so the fact that you don't fit in within her box, it sounds like you don't want to be in her box anyway, right? She's abusive.
No. I mean, in the end, I recognized that she was an abusive personality, and working for her was no good. But yeah, she was just somebody who like absolutely stated this.
So first of all, I hear that there's some abuse in there, right?
Yeah.
So you have some trauma around this.
Yeah.
Right? Not just, oh, I'm uncomfortable, but you have some trauma around that.
Yeah.
So you might look at things like somatic experiencing or stuff that's going to help you rewire some of that brain stuff. EFT will get at a little bit of it. I've been using something called so Christina, remember we talked, there's Megan was at the retreat and we were talking about emotional brain training. I don't know if you were there for that. Yeah. So I've been doing that. It's pretty great stuff. I don't think it will deal with trauma, but you really want to get some support around that, because it's a heavy duty experience. Yeah. And that will shape the way that you think about it. It will change your neuronal pathways.
Okay.
So it's an important thing to know. Also know that most people who are self-employed are unemployable. There's a reason, right? There's a reason that we don't work for other people. And there's a whole variety of things. One, we don't fit into boxes, or, we've worked for people and they're not really doing it the right way, right? Or there's some innovation that we're dying to make, right? Or some impact that we're dying to have that we can't have in any other way but to do it for ourselves. So just know that part of the reason you're doing what you're doing, at least part of it, is that you're very creative and that you need your own space and you need to create your own structure in order to have what you make the impact that you want to make.
Yeah.
Okay. And don't let that be a thing that stops you, right? Let that be a thing that propels you forward, right? That you finally get how amazing and brilliant and powerful you are, and let that help you have an impact in the world.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Everybody take a breath. That's big stuff. Just notice if any of that landed, especially deep or hard, and if you want to make any notes about that. Okay. So now that we've been talking a little bit about money in a long-term relationship, or we're talking about the context of long-term relationship. I want you to take some time to notice and write down, what if you were thinking about being in a long-term relationship with money, right? How would you approach money if you were in that long-term relationship? I'll give you a few minutes to write about that.
How is that different than the last writing exercise?
It's a good question. So the last writing exercise, we were looking at what did I say? The components of your relationship, looking at, What does it mean to be in relationship? And maybe you did the same thing. Maybe you already answered this question and I didn't ask it quite right. But looking at what would your relationship with money specifically be like if you decided that you were in a long-term relationship?
Okay.
So let me be more specific. Are there things that you would do or not do? Are there things that you would want either, from money or to give to money? Is there information that you need, the rituals that you want, stuff like that? Like you have Christmas with your family. Like, I don't know you, but I have Christmas with my family, or at least I did. And that was one of the rituals that we have, right?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Okay. All right, great. I'll give you a couple of minutes to write about that. Do you guys need more time? I cannot tell. Yes, you need more time. No, you don't need more time. Carrie? Okay. So let's look at this. Is there anything that you want to share from this round of writing? Is there anything that you learned? Go for it, Christina.
Yeah, the first thing that came up for me was that I want my money to grow on its own. So like investments or something like that, where I feel like I have, it's not all my money coming in isn't based on my physical labor. So having some kind of passive income, figuring out how I can have some kind of passive income, and building some long-term security for myself, like having a retirement fund, and also planning for some long-term like fun goals, like
I've always wanted to, I've traveled a lot, but like I have some really big travels that I'd like to do that are, that are a lot more than just, a few months of planning or whatever. And, at some point I'd actually like to relocate out of the country. So, like being able to plan for something like that.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Anyone else want to share? Yeah, Carrie.
So I had this kind of insight. If I was in a long-term relationship, I would be much more honest about like part of being in a long-term relationship, you have to be honest with your current partner about your successes and failures in past relationships. So if I was in a relationship with money now, I would have to be more honest. And it occurs to me that I have had like real successes. Like I've paid off my car note on my own. I did all these things on my own. So why do I think I'm a failure?
It's a very good question.
So, yeah.
Have we talked about success lists with you?
Yes, but they were always in the context of like the last 60 days, what did you do? Like, but if it's long-term relationship, like these are big deal things. And it didn't occur to me that they were big deal things.
Nice. So it sounds like you need a long-term success list that you need to, yeah. So why don't you make one and bring it to our next call and you can share your long-term successes with us.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, that sounds delicious. And does anyone else want to share before we move on? Okay, we're going to move on to the next thing. Okay, so this is kind of just a note, and you'll see this in the workbook too, which is I want you to stop. So one of the things about relationships is if you badmouth your partner all the time, they'd leave you. Like eventually they would just be like, I'm out, right? Nobody wants to be nagged. Nobody wants to be told, that they're terrible, or they're not doing what you want, or, there's not enough, right? And so one of the commitments I want you to look at making is to stop bad-mouthing money. Stop telling money that it's not enough, right? Right? How often are you like, oh, I don't have enough money, right? And this conversation, this is about scarcity, right? And where our head goes around all of these things. So I'm going to say a little bit about this, and then I want you to really think about your truth is in your mouth. So when this is, as folks who like Carrie and Seneca, who I know do a lot of magic, with think about if every act is a magical act, every time you speak ill of money, or you spend an hour doing something great about money and then 8 hours worrying about it, what are the magical ramifications of what you're doing and saying? And so think about that when you start to speak about money, right? The other thing I want to say is something about scarcity, which is scarcity is as much a social condition as it is a mindset. And so one of my personal projects is about transforming our relationship with scarcity. So in the class that's coming after this, the first thing that we're going to do is take a deep dive into understanding how scarcity works for us and how scarcity works in our culture, and what we can do individually and as a community to change our relationship with scarcity. But one of the things to do is to just stop saying, hey, money, you're not enough. and one of the reasons to do that is to start to change your level of responsibility around money, right? If you have decided that you can change your relationship with money, then you can change your relationship with money, right? And a lot of that, but you have to, but that is an all-out commitment, right? That is a commitment to speaking well of money, to creating your alignment, to doing your clarity work, to tracking your money. And so really when you're thinking about, I'm changing my relationship with money, see if you can raise your kind of consciousness level on each of these pieces. But right now it's like, can you make a commitment to stop speaking ill of money? Does anybody want to take that on? Yeah, Josh? Yeah, Christina? Carrie, you're going to take it on? Yeah, great. And what about you, Seneca? I can't see you, so I can't tell if they're like giving me thumbs up and stuff.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
I definitely will take that on.
Nice. Thank you.
I like that challenge.
Yeah, it's a good one. So on our next call, at any point, you can just have a little check-in and tell us, hey, I'm doing great on my commitment not to speak ill of money, or hey, I need some support. So one of the things that happens is in our next 3 calls together is that any of these projects that you're taking on about money, you can come and report to us and share what's going on. You can ask for support. You can ask for support in the Facebook group. But a lot of this is our container of like, how are we creating this change? So feel free to check in with us about it at any point. Cool? Okay, cool. So we are already at 3:30. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I want to actually put into place some structure. So now that you know what you want to be clear about, right? And you've gotten at least a couple emails from the class, so you have a sense that, you're going to be doing some, for a while, every day at least, work around money. I want to talk about putting in place an actual container of what do you do when you sit down to work on money. So did you all get the Sacred Money Date setup worksheet? It's a little workbook. It should be in your email. But I'm going to share my screen and show you what I got here. Yeah, it's this one. Oh, okay. So you're going to want to get some tools together, right? And for doing this work, you're going to also need, and I recommend that you write down, so we're going to look at the tools that you have to gather to work on money. Oh, Sadika, did you want to say something?
No.
Okay, I'm going to mute you again. So the first kind of practical step around tools that you'll need, so here's some suggested ones, but for this class, you're also going to need, your emails, right? So that you can go through and do your daily practice. So you can either print this out right now, or you can just make a list in your notebook or the piece of paper that you're working on and just write down, what do you need to work with money? For me, I certainly use QuickBooks, and I grab my bank statements, and I have a budgeting spreadsheet, and I actually have we'll get into that, but I have this, my regular monthly, it's actually, we do it bi-weekly money dates worksheet. So just take a minute and write down, which of these things do you need to work on your financial clarity project? Okay. Are you guys, are you ready? Okay, because that's not so now that you have your tools, we're going to talk about like just so if we're going to have a date, right? You set up a container for a date, right? You decide what you're going to do. Maybe you're going to go to dinner. Maybe you're going to stay home and have sex, or maybe you're going to stay home and hang out and talk, or whatever. You're going to go for a walk. You're going to have a picnic. But you set an intention for what it is that you want to do, and you prepare accordingly, right? You plan accordingly. I'm sort of looking off to the side because your faces are over here because I have a screen share. So sorry about that. So you set up space and time and intention. You get dressed in a certain way. Maybe you make the bed or do something in a way that creates a mental, emotional, physical space for you to have a date with money. So a sacred, like setting up sacred space for your money date, you want to set the mood, right? I'm a big fan of chocolate. So when I sit down to do my own money date, I often grab a little bit of chocolate. I like chocolate and candles. And chocolate and candles in my book. And my book, which is called Rituals for Living Dream Book. And if you do the year-long class, when we get that started, I'll be sending everybody one of these books. Did you get it? It's so good. What did you say, Carrie?
I've been using it as my planner this year.
Oh, it's so good. It's very delicious. I saw it. It does a whole bunch of things. It works with your values and does monthly it helps you ritualize your processes. Anyway, I really love it. It's called Rituals for Living Dream Book, and mine has a cover on it, so you can't see the cover, but I love it. So I got a fancy cover, and I got the little tabs, so they're fancy little gold, silver. Anyway, it's beautiful. And it makes me delighted to do this, right? I sit down and I'm like, I get to work with my book, and sometimes I color on the little pages. Oh, I can show you. I totally sometimes color on the little things. These cute little, let's see. I was coloring in them recently. Just the color. Anyway, because I like to color, it makes me happy. So I give myself some space and some time to do that, right? And for me, I bring all of my colored pens. I have all these different colors that I like to play with. And so when I'm doing my planning, I have at least 6 different colors of pen, at least. And so, I want you to think about, for you, what makes this space feel really special or sacred, Like I said, for me, I have these pens, and I have my planner and chocolate. And sometimes I use candles because I love candles. And I also sometimes work with I have a money altar in our shared, space that has actual money on it, and a Ganesh statue, and a green cloth on it, stuff like that. Think about, what is it that you want to be working with to help make it feel like you're actually creating some love in your relationship with money. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to work with that. Oh, and when you're done, how about this? When you're done, type in the chat and just say done, and that will help me. Great. Thank you, Carrie. Christina's done. Josh, how you doing? You're done too. Okay, and Seneca? Great. Okay. Seneca, how you doing?
Oh yeah, I'm done.
Okay, great. Do you want to share anything about this? Like maybe it's cool. Yeah, Christina.
So one thing I thought of, well, I love the idea of the money altar. I'm totally creating a money altar. But one thing I thought too was like whenever I'm trying to manifest something that works really well for me is journaling. And so I was thinking of a money journal, like journaling in the present tense. Like, yeah, there was like a technique that I heard somebody talk about called pray rain journaling. And it's like you imagine something as if it's happening right now. So it's like creating, so yeah, I was thinking a money journal. And then I was thinking that I should put some flowers or something nice on my desk so that it's not such a horrible place that I don't want to be.
Yeah, it makes you feel good. Right? I mean, your environment really makes a big difference. If you don't want to sit down at your desk, you're not going to do it, or you're going to do it, but you're going to be grumpy.
Yeah.
And your attitude, your mood matters. That's why I'm so on about all this pleasure stuff that I'm so on about. It's because it matters. It matters for your, it matters for training your brain, and it matters for your limbic system and your endocrine system and your hormones to create that longer term thing that people say that they want, but you gotta train yourself to think differently and to have the thing you actually want. So this is all of this ritual stuff is something that comes, I think some of it comes as second nature to some of us who maybe have done some witchy stuff, and but I find it's really super supportive for me to have a worksheet, to have a ritual, to have a repeated process so that I know, oh, right, I'm sitting down to do this thing. And that's what I'm doing. And that feels really good. Yeah. So if you do put together a money altar, I'd love to see it, love to see pictures of it, if you're willing to share. Thank you. Does anyone else want to share? Oh, lost our timer. Does anyone else want to share? We're good. Okay, excellent. So, so the next piece of this, so now that you're gonna have your beautiful environment and you've gotten together some tools, one of the questions is, how often are you gonna do this? While you're in this class, I really want you to encourage you to put aside 20 minutes or half an hour every single day, 5 days a week, till the end of the class. My experience is if you're doing this work, you often have a backlog of some sort, right? Or there's stuff that you could be doing. And certainly the class emails, will take you at least a few minutes to read every day. One of the downfalls here, let me stop this share for a second. One of the downfalls that I find with entrepreneurs is that we often overschedule ourselves, right? We think we can get more done than we do. No, anybody? Yeah, that's me. And so I can count on getting the things done in my day that I schedule generally, right? And so if I look at my schedule, and I'm going to give you a little clue about how to do this. When I first looked at my schedule, I was like, I realized some things. I realized that I had never put a meal on my schedule unless I was eating out with people. And I let my clients schedule anytime I want, anytime they wanted. And so I just kind of took things at all hours of the day and night. And I found myself working either a ton or not at all. Giving your calendar some structure can really help to focus your mind and your intention. So these days, if you're some person who is working on your business or want to be working on your business full time, I recommend that you do an exercise called Clear the Decks, which is you get everything else off of the time that you're going to be working, your regular work hours, whether they're actually 8 to 5 or where you're working 11 to 7 or, whatever you're doing. And that you put in all the things that you need to put into that time. So make sure that you have a meal and a snack. Make sure that you get breaks, right? Because while you might be able to work all day for one day, you cannot work all day every day without a break. It will destroy your system, and will not train you to have the rest and luxury and happiness that you say that you want, right? Make sure that you put your downtime in there. Make sure that you put your other required activities like your money dates, right? And that you actually put your client work in there and stuff like that. But I really encourage people to schedule their calendar around making sure that you have what you need. So getting your money dates. For the course of this class, if you can get half an hour a day on or 20 minutes a day on where you can actually sit down and focus on your money, that's a good start. In the long term, you want to look at how is your calendar set up so that it's serving you and you're not constantly in reaction. A lot of the reason that people are like, oh, I can't plan, oh, I can never get to that bigger thing, is they don't set their calendars up so they have planning time, so they have money dates time, so they're doing their administrative work. And those things are often the things that get kind of shoved into the cracks. Or their marketing. Anybody else have a hard time getting to their marketing to bring in those new clients? Yeah. So if you make time for all those things, it's much more likely to happen. And then we can talk about creating trust with yourself where you actually keep those agreements and do what needs to be done in the time that you've already allocated. All right. So now when we go back over here to share my screen and we can look at this. Oh, excuse me. So you want to look at how often you're going to schedule this. And at the very least for the first quarter, you want to do weekly. I'm at a point where I do biweekly. I basically do some version of every other Friday or biweekly. But I do more like the 10th and the 25th. And then I actually have a bookkeeper who looks at our books in between to do things like accounts receivable and stuff like that. Because if you're running a business, and you give invoices, so I give invoices to people, right? So then I have to follow up and make sure that folks have paid. And that is one of the things that needs to happen. So I want you to decide how often you're going to do them. And I'm hoping that for the next month, you'll do something 5 days a week. And then you'll go to like weekly, if you can manage to go to weekly. And I want you to write down the next day that you're going to be working on money and how much time you're going to set aside, right? I don't think I recommend any less than half an hour for an actual money date so that you can get all of your attention and put it on there. And then we got to get on your calendar. So I want you to take a few minutes right now to make some choices about this, with the end result being that you put your money dates on the calendar, and at least for the next 30 days. But if you can put the next at least 3 months, and then eventually you'll get to the point where you can put a whole year on and you'll have a repeating schedule. But for now, start with, filling out this little form. How often are you going to do it? When is it? Like that. And then I'm going to give you some time to put these dates on your calendar. Actually, so just you can start working on all of that now. I'll give us like 7 minutes or something, and I'll unmute you, or you can unmute yourself if you want to ask me any questions, or if something comes up or you want to talk or share about it. And otherwise, we'll just we'll all work on getting our money dates on our calendars. And I'm going to put myself on mute. But like I said, you can ask me questions. You can either ask them verbally or you can ask them in the chat. And then when oops, and then when you're done, put put done in the chat so I can see it. Ready, go. Oh, you can't hear me. I keep saying great. And so I've heard from everybody except Seneca. How are you doing?
Am I muted?
You're unmuted now.
Great. I'm pretty much complete.
Okay, excellent. So let me stop. Let's see. All right. So So remember, who are we talking about? Oh, Carrie and the successes. So the last piece to do is acknowledge your successes. So, and we'll do that in just a minute. But now that you've done this, so how many of you got your sacred money dates on till the end of, well, in about a month, it'll be like closer to the end of April? Are those, yeah? Josh? I can't tell. No?
I need to kind of plan every week. I can't really go that far out right now with the way
Okay.
I'm doing. So
Do you-
I did put a note. I did put something into plan like next week so that I have the week out, and then I can keep doing it every week.
So do you have a like a weekly planning process that you go through that you put all these things on your calendar?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So you have a possibility of having yours planned forever. Okay.
Yes.
Excellent. Well done. So you put your stuff for the rest of you on for most of the next month, yes? And did you do beyond that? Beyond a month? Yeah? Yeah, let me stop this for a second so I can see you all better. Christina, how far out did you go?
I did it for the year.
Yeah.
I mean, I may have to adjust it, but you know.
Oh yeah. We might, you always might have to adjust stuff. Oh, and then I keep letting the timer go. But getting it on there is like, putting kind of a stake in the ground. And so if you need to change it, at least you see it on your calendar and you put it somewhere else. Yeah. What about you, Carrie? How did it go?
Oh yeah, I decided 10 a.m. Fridays are going to be my date day.
Good. Good job. Excellent. And what about you, Seneca?
Yeah, actually similar to, was it Carrie who just spoke? I'm going to do
Yes.
Friday mornings and keep it like that at least through April and then revisit.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. So how does it feel having all this on your calendar? Good. Do you feel like you have a sense that you can move forward and the next time you sit down, you know what you're working on? Yes? Yes, I can't tell. Josh, I can't. You're so backlit, it's hard for me to see. You're a yes, Josh. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about what they're going to work on the next time that they sit down to work on money?
No.
Yes. That's so great, you guys. Do you feel more clear now than you did when we started?
Yeah.
Great. I'm glad to hear it. For me, this was one of the missing pieces was what do I do? What am I supposed to be even looking at? And you'll get even more details in the class, but I wanted to make sure that you got this piece that you're like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is, I'm going to have this financial clarity and this is what we're going to do when we sit down. So awesome. So the last piece of this is to count your successes. So for a lot of people, I think the idea of successes is sort of a throwaway. It's like, oh yeah, well, I did it, whatever. But I'm going to tell you something. Your neurology, your brain will actually help you get things done if you give it the right information. Okay? So the information that you want to give your brain about doing a thing repeatedly is that you want to get excited about it. If you're excited about it, your brain will help you do it again. That's how your biology works, right? So one way of doing that is to do what I call measure backwards. So, and that's a way of easing yourself into actually a success list. Like I said before, we often focus on getting from here to the vision or here to the goal. And what that can create is a constant sense of not enough, right? Of, oh my gosh, I'm just not there. And then, I don't know if you noticed this, but when you get there, you get most of the way there, then you're like, okay, I'm going to kick the goal out a little further, right? So you don't actually get the sense of having actually accomplished something, which is why it's really important to regularly sit down and be like, okay, I did this, I did this, I did this, and then read those things and celebrate that you have actually rocked it. Okay. So I want you to do that right now. I'm going to share my screen again. And it's this one, I think. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to let you do this bit on your own about how you felt before sacred money dates and how you feel now. But it is important to acknowledge basically that you shifted, right? And what I want you to write down now is, what are your successes? What did you accomplish during this, this last 2 hours, almost 2 hours together? What did you accomplish in all of this? So I'm going to give you a few minutes. I'm going to mute you all again. I left you unmuted. And I'm just going to give you a few minutes to write down some successes, and then we will acknowledge those successes. Ready, go. Let's see. Ooh, Christina's done. She's fast. I'm hoping you'll find several, at least like 5. It'd be great if you found 5 things that you were counted as successes. Okay, about another minute, unless you're done. Okay, great. We're getting there. Okay, Carrie, how you doing? Oh, I can't hear you. What did you say?
I said I'm done. I have
Great.
successes.
And Seneca.
I'm also done. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Awesome. Perfect timing. So, who wants to share your successes? And let me tell you how we're going to do this. Actually, before you say, you're going to say your success, and we're just going to be, all of us together, we're just going to be like, yes! Okay? You share your successes. Who wants to start?
I can start. This is
Okay,
Seneca.
great. Go, Seneca.
Okay. I prioritized my relationship with money by signing up for this class and prioritizing being here.
Yes!
Yay!
Everybody, 1, 2, 3. Yes!
Yay!
Okay.
I set realistic goals for this course.
Yes!
Well, yeah, I'll say that one as one. Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
And-
Yes!
Yay!
I shared the intention out loud to shift my income, the majority of my income, to being connected to my dream work rather than supporting someone else's dream work. It's a big step.
Yes!
Yes. And I committed to only speaking positively about money. And I added that I also will only speak positively about other people's relationships with money, especially my parents, because that's a big one.
Yes!
Yes.
Great job.
Thank you.
Awesome. That's great. Those are all fantastic things. Great job. Who else? Who wants to go next? Josh. So I'm going to unmute you all so that you can celebrate with us. Okay, Josh.
We're silently celebrating with hand motions. All right. I got clarity around my relationship with money and how I feel trapped.
Yes!
Yes.
I feel empowered to take responsibility for my money relationship.
Yes!
Yes.
I have dates in my calendar and will be where I will be handling or maintaining my money relationship, I guess you'd say.
Yes!
Yay!
I feel more aware with my money in general.
Yes!
Yay!
Yes.
And I'm more organized with my money.
Woo!
Yes.
Great job.
Thank you.
Who wants to go next?
I can go.
Great. Do
Yeah.
it, Carrie.
One, I had 2 big mental breakthroughs.
Yes!
Yeah.
Yay!
Yes.
Power about my business and
Yes!
yay! I noticed that so while I was online, I got a pop-up from Acorns, and it said I noticed that I have, since opening in February, I have invested $63. Yay!
Yes!
Yes.
And my reminder that I am profitable. My business is profitable,
Yes!
and I've made a commitment to speak well of money.
Yes!
Yes.
Yay!
Great job.
That's all.
Thank you. Great job. Christina.
I got clear on the type of relationship I want with money.
Yes!
Yay!
I committed to my money dates and bettering my relationship with money.
Yes!
Yay!
I'm
Yes.
committed to a money altar and journaling about it.
Yes!
Yay!
Great job, everybody. Those are really big things. I don't know if you know this, but most people never really do anything like this around money. So you're way ahead of the game. Great job.
Cool.
And we've accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish in our session.
Yes.
And it's 4:00. We did really good. Oh, I'm going to take a quick poll because this is a thing that's happening, and then we're going to do our gratitude, and we will wrap up until next week. One of my questions is, would you rather we book for an hour and go an hour and 15 minutes, or would you rather we book for an hour and a half and go for an hour and 15 minutes? Does it make a difference to you?
Booking an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Book an hour and a half. Okay. Okay. I think we should change our weekly hour calls to an hour and a half, and I'll see if I can do that for the rest of our next 3 weeks. I can't always go all the way to an hour and a half, but I notice that we tend to, we have a real hard time staying in an hour, and so I want to give us the space that we really need to do the work that we're doing, and not kind of constantly be stealing back time. All right, let's do our gratitudes. And this will get up in the portal as soon as we can do it. Yeah.
Will you send an email out to whatever the portal is?
Yes. You should have gotten membership information, but this is on. Let me write it down again.
I don't think I got on the list because I didn't get anything. I didn't get anything.
You haven't gotten any emails?
No.
Okay.
I mean, except for what came in today from you after. I was like, hey, what's up? So, yeah.
We are having, I am going to count it on Mercury retrograde because this is the most tech problems we've had with a launch ever. I keep getting people saying, oh, we're not getting emails. And then we add them, and then sometimes they get them and sometimes they don't. So I'll add you. You're on my list. We'll put this in the portal. So what will happen is they'll go up in an unlisted YouTube, and then we'll put a link in the portal. And often we'll put a link in Facebook group, so you should be able to just have it.
Okay, and can you send me the info on the Facebook group too?
Yes, that will come in all of those emails.
Okay.
And you'll get all of that. You might get 6 or 8 emails in the next 24 hours. It might be a lot of things. So just notice. And if any of you are missing, Seneca, I saw your email. If anybody else is missing emails, just let me know and we'll get you all caught up. Yeah. Thank you for your patience with that. Okay, let's do gratitudes and then we can move on with our day. What are you grateful for? I'll go last.
I'm grateful to be invited into this group.
Yay.
I'm grateful for the possibility of change.
Thank you.
I'm grateful for having a very patient job while I spend a chunk of time on building my business while I'm working the job.
That's a big deal. Thank you.
I'm grateful for, I feel a huge energetic and mental emotional shift. So I'm very grateful.
Thank you. Awesome. And I'm always grateful for getting to do this work. I'm not only am I grateful for doing this work, there is one of the environmental things that I've given myself is I get to look at this beautiful purple crystal lamp that I bought myself as one of the tools for being able to sit at my desk during the day. Is I have a beautiful purple crystal lamp. Maybe I'll show it to you sometime. And it's just every time I get a little down in my work, I look at it and I'm like, ah, it's exactly what I wanted. It's purple hanging crystal lamp. And I'm grateful for all of you. Okay, so next week we will meet on Tuesday at noon, and our classes will be Tuesday at noon Pacific time for the next 3 weeks. And then after that, we'll have, I'll tell you about what, sometime in there, I'll tell you about what's coming next if you want to do more things. Sound good?
Yes.
Okay.
Have a great evening and a great week and a fabulous weekend, and I will talk to you next week.
Wait, you said something. You had said something last hour about Friday. Is there something going on Friday?
I don't think so.
I just heard. Okay. Alrighty.
Well, I hope not, because I don't have anything. I don't have anything planned.
Okay. Okay.
You know, there is, isn't it's like both, there's Mercury retrograde and like Jupiter retrograde. Like there's all this like big, powerful internal stuff that's happening. And every single day for the last at least a week, maybe longer than that, I've had everybody on my team at like just all around being like, wait, when is that happening? Yesterday I had 2 people miss schedule calls with me. Either they totally missed them. They thought like one of them thought it was on Friday and another one was like, oh, I thought we had a call. Like it's just been happening. Like it's, you know, it's not even just me. People all around me seem to be having it too. So I'm just going to chalk it up to there's something in the air, and I'm going to do my best to be even more clear and more thorough about getting you guys information. Let's see if we can counteract that.
Cool.
All right. Thank you so much, and I will see you on Tuesday. Really on Tuesday. Really 12 o'clock Pacific time.
All right. Cool.
I will see you guys then.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.